In 2024, I added reading to my never-ending list of hobbies. I went to book events. I made bookish crafts. I joined a virtual book club. I joined an in-person book club, etc., etc., etc. I am here to talk about all of it. Let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about me. I was definitely the accelerated reader girly growing up until the end of middle school. When I went into high school and then when I went to college, I feel like my textbooks were my form of reading. I played sports in high school. I was in the honors program. I was fighting for my life to stay in the honors program because of math and science. When I went to college, I was working, fighting for my life with anatomy, just fighting for my life all through college to maintain my honors status. And so I fear that reading just kind of fell by the wayside. And then after college, I moved to a different state, started a new life. I got married. I then started a YouTube channel, which would take up a lot of time. I then created an Etsy shop, which would take up a lot of time. And just since then, I have been adding hobbies to my repertoire, and I feel like I got back into reading in 2024. I have always been a person who has had an appreciation for the arts. I love music, concerts, I love movies, I love theater, I love it all. So it really just only made sense that I would in life be a reader, and I'm glad to have found my way back. I slowly started to make my way back circa 2022, and in 2024, that's when I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a hobby, albeit a little bit different of a hobby because I feel like I just read for funsies, for the vibes, for pleasure. And all the other times, while reading was pleasurable, I was really just reading to learn how to read, A, to be a good reader, B, and to get the pizza and the other rewards that were offered via the accelerated reading program. But enough about that. Let's go through every single book that I read in 2024. By every single book, I mean, it's a decent amount. I exceeded my goal, but it's not like I read a whole ton of books. I am going to rate them, share a little bit about my experience with the books. I'm not really here to share what the books are about necessarily. I'm going to share some of the bookish crafts that I created, some of the bookish events that I went to, some of my favorite bookish supplies and apps and products that I discovered in 2024. That's what I'm here for, just to kind of share my 2024 reading wrapped. I have never created or made a book video, and so this will be the first, hopefully not the last, but we'll see. In January, I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. I started that January the 3rd. I finished it January the 4th. And at that time, at the closing of the book, I rated that book 5 stars out of 5 stars. Let me tell you about my rating scale. 1 to 2, books that I could have gone my whole life without reading. 4 to 5, books that I would have been sad to have gone without reading. A 3 is kind of like the vibe, either or. You know, I could have gone without reading it. The vibes were decent, nothing extraordinary, and it was pretty much a mid book. I have discovered that I do have some 6-star reads, which I'm going to share with you. These books are off the scale. So when I closed Happy Place, I rated it 5 stars. I'm not gonna lie, the vibes were cute. The love story element of it wasn't really giving too much, but like overall the book was a fun, cute read, and I would recommend reading it. Anything that's a 4 or a 5 or a 6, I recommend reading it. And so yeah, I like that book. That was actually the only book that I read in January. On February the 2nd, I started buddy reading Jay-Z's Decoded. I read this alongside my husband. And so when we are reading books together, we basically just read to a certain chapter, or yeah, until the end of a certain chapter, and then we discuss what we've read so far, and then we continue to read, and we stay at the same pace. We read that via ebook, and I rated it a 3 star. I finished it on March the 12th, which means that it's the only book that I read in February, because I do not read multiple books at the same time. And I guess I was fighting for my life to get through that book. And that's pretty accurate because A, my husband is a slower reader. He has a lot going on, grad school, he's a coach, he's a teacher, all these things. So I knew that we would take some time to read it, but I learned a decent amount about Jay-Z that I did not know. But other than that, I feel like the book was riddled with lyrics from his songs. Like quite literally, he would have really the whole song written out, and it would be pages of lyrics, and I guess the whole purpose is for him to decode those lyrics for the readers, but I could have gone without all of that. Maybe I should have paid a little bit more attention to this book that my husband suggested that we read, but I didn't, and so that's on me. But 3 stars, would not recommend. Since we're in March, I guess it's an appropriate time to talk about the first Bookish event that I went to. So I am a part of a planner and crafter group here where I live. And in 2024, there was like a spinoff of the planner and crafter group, which is for planners and crafters who read. And so we had an event. We did some bookish crafts. We did a book exchange. I think that one we did, actually, I have the details here. I think that was the blind date, bookish swag, crafts, door prizes, and even a bookish game. Oh yeah, we played a fun bookish game. And then we did a blind book swap. Also at this event, you could bring any books that you had that you wanted to destash, which is like giveaway. And I didn't have any that I wanted to give away or to give away. So I did not take any to be given away, but I was able to acquire a couple of books. So I did get a few of my books at that event in March. That was March the 23rd. At that event, oh, I don't have it. Okay, well, I did have it. Wait, where did it go? Well, at that event, I acquired Terry McMillan's Waiting to Exhale. I started reading it the day after, I guess, on March the 24th, and I finished on March the 31st. And I'm gonna be honest, the book was free. I used to have it, but I must have destashed it at one of the later events in 2024. I do not have it, but I did read it, the physical book. And I wanted to read it because I never really thought that the movie was really hitting for much. And so I was like, let me read this book because, you know, a lot of times I feel like books can be better than the movies, or the movies are just tweaked so much. And I read the book and I was like, this ain't it either. And then I went back and watched the movie just to make sure I wasn't crazy, because it's a fan favorite in the Black community. And I was like, this ain't it. But I will say, the book and the movie are old, probably as old as I am, and they probably were elite back when they originated. But now in 2024, well, it's 2025 now, but in 2024, it wasn't for me. Again, I don't have the book, but this is what the cover looks like. That's it for March. On April the 8th, I started reading Young Jeezy's Adversity for Sale, another buddy read with my husband. I finished on April the 10th. I think I left him in the dust, or we were on spring break from work and we finished it quickly. I don't know, but I did rate that book a 4. I loved it. I love anything about like adversity or any kind of struggle. I love a memoir. I love an autobiography. I love anything where I can like hear or read about a person's plight and how they overcame that, because that's who I am as a person. I'm very much going against all odds, I feel like, or have had to go against all odds. So I love any book about that. I also love Young Jeezy. So to be fair, he could not have done a lot of wrong in my eyes anyway. It was not a 5-star read. A 4 is really pushing it, and that's just because I love Young Jeezy. It probably was like a 3.5 or a 3.8. When I had attended that event in March and I was picking out my blind date with the book, basically everybody brought a wrapped book. I actually acquired Frida McFadden's The Teacher. Now, I actually have the physical copy, or I had it. I think I must have given it away in a swap because I did literally have it. I know that because I brought it home from the event. I told my husband about this author. I asked him if he wanted to participate. He's a teacher, so it kind of makes sense. And I work as a counselor for the public school system as well. And so it really just seemed fitting to invite the only teacher that I have really close proximity to read the book with me. And so he decided to join. So we did buy this. We bought an ebook copy as well. And that is when my love for Frida, Big Frida, started. I started The Teacher on April the 12th and I finished it on April the 17th. I also believe that I must have left my husband behind to finish the book, or maybe we were still on spring break that week and that's why we finished that book. But otherwise, I just feel like he's normally pretty busy. But anyway, That's when my love for Frida started. I rated that book 5 stars. Frida can do no wrong. Yes, the ending was a wild one, but it was, I liked the book. The ending was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. The ending was strange. It was kind of going against my morals and ethics as a clinician, as a social worker, but as a counselor. But the book was great. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I love Frida. From April the 19th until April the 23rd, I was reading Kerry Washington's Thicker Than Water. I'll be honest, I don't really know that much about Kerry Washington, but I knew that she had released a memoir and I wanted to be nosy. I wanted to learn about the story relating to her biological parents. I knew that at a later time in her life, like recently, she discovered that, well, I think that only her dad is not her biological dad, if I remember the story correctly. So anyway, to be honest, I just wanted to see what was tea. And so I read it. I rated it 4 stars. I really liked the book and I highly recommend it. From April the 25th until May the 4th, I was reading Carly Fortune's Meet Me at the Lake. I wanted to see what Meet Me at the Lake was about. I rated it 3 stars. It just wasn't really giving for me. I don't know. It was a cute read, but I certainly could have gone without reading it, or I could have read it and enjoyed the cuteness of it all. But it's a 3 star, which means that, you know, either or, but I wouldn't go around recommending it to anybody, that's for sure. From May 7th until May the 13th, I was reading Brene Brown's Gifts of Imperfection. Brene is like queen social worker. She can do no wrong in my eyes whatsoever. I am working through her catalog. I started working through her catalog maybe 2022. And so one cannot go wrong with Brene Brown. I loved the book, rated it 4 stars, highly recommend it. On June 8th, I went to another book event with my planner and crafter friends. It's actually called Shelf Indulgence. That's what the group is called. And so I went there and I was able to acquire The Coworker by Frida McFadden. I was hyped. I came home, I started reading it immediately, and I finished it in 2 days. Granted, I have a summer break from work and I'm off of work really a lot. I only work half the days of the year. I had a lot of time in the summer to read this book and I rated it 4 stars. That's because Frida can really do no harm in my eyes. I read a book that would become my favorite book up until that point. It still remains a really great book, but it was my favorite read up until that point. Now, I only rated it 4 stars, but it's like 4.5 stars. You know, it's a little higher than just 4, but I can't quite give it 5 stars. But that book is called The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I don't know where I got this book from. I was asking my friend, like, where did I get this book? You know, I don't even know where I got this book. But the cool thing is, a lot of the books that I really enjoy, they are a Good Morning America book club book. So it makes perfect sense why I would also like the book, just like a lot of other people, I guess. But I love this book. I remember everything about it. It lives rent-free in my head. I remember the small town that the twins came from, or, you know, their hometown. I remember the twins' names. I remember the other characters of the book. This book lives rent-free in my head. And honestly, whether you are African American or not, I believe that this is a good book. The reason why I say that is because, well, if you don't know, the story is about 2 twins who are very fair-skinned, who go on to live completely different lives. Essentially, one kind of lives the life of a Black woman and the other as a white woman. Completely different lives. And so I just feel like, while I'm sure a lot of African American women can relate to kind of like the colorism of it all, I guess you could say, or like when it comes to complexions and all of that, I feel like if you're not a Black woman, you could still very much resonate with this book and benefit from reading this book. So this was one of my favorite reads up until this point, and it took until June 27th. Well, I started June 27th. I finished June 30th. So it took like 7 months out of the year for me to find like a book that was really hitting, and that was this book. Now, you would have thought I could have done a little bit more reading during the summer. I didn't work a single day in June, so you would think I would have read more than what I read, but I did not. I just simply did not read a lot of books in June. I remember going on vacation to Miami in June and all of that, but moving to July, on July the 26th, I went to a sip and read, which was hosted by one of my friends. One of my friends is an avid reader, and she hosted a sip and read at a coffee shop. So we all went, and there were books that she gave away and door prizes and all kinds of stuff. But for the most part, the premise of the event was such that you would come with your favorite book, or with a book, grab a beverage, and you would sip and you would read. So I think we mingled and such for about an hour, and then we read in silence for about an hour, and then we wrapped up and then we left. And at that event, I think right before I went, I decided I was going to read this book. So I downloaded it and went and took the book there, I believe. But at any rate, that was going to be Curvy Girl Summer by Danielle Allen. And this was an e-read, an ebook. This is what it looks like. Let's see what I rated this book. I rated it a 3. It was a good book. It just wasn't my preference, I guess you could say. There were not elements of the book that like really did it for me. So unfortunately, I had to rate it 3 stars. I'm gonna read the second book, which comes out this year. You know, I'm gonna read it. I'm not going to be in any rush by any means, but I am going to read it. So I don't know. I feel like if I'm continuing to read books in the series, then obviously it's at least halfway decent. On August the 11th, I started reading Christina Lauren's The True Love Experiment, and I finished that book on August the 28th. I rated it 3 stars. I did like the book, but it just was not, I don't know. It was actually pretty similar to Curvy Girl Summer, if you ask me, like as far as the vibes. On August the 23rd, my friend hosted another sip and read. This one was at a martini bar. I remember because I went there reading The True Love Experiment, and I think I finished it shortly after. And it was at that event that we actually started a book club. And so that's when I officially joined a book club. Now, our first official meeting was going to be in September, but we had a random hurricane that hit. And by random, I mean it wasn't supposed to come here originally. It wasn't supposed to hit us. So that knocked that, you know, we had to push it back, and we didn't get around to meeting for the first time until November. But anyway, that was something that took place in August. And then I did not track when I started reading this book, which is tragic, but I started reading Kennedy Ryan's Before I Let Go in, I'm assuming I started reading it. Why don't I have when I started reading and finished reading the next 2 books? That's tragic. I forgot to track it, but I did start reading Before I Let Go. I did rate it 5 stars. That's because I'm a Kennedy Ryan stan. I am working through her catalog, and it definitely was a 5-star read. If you are paying attention, you'll notice a theme. Again, anything mental health related, self-care, just anything about adversity and working through that, all of that I eat up. If there's not even like a slight bit of that involved in it, then I probably am not going to rate the book really high. But since this had a lot of that going for it, then I rated it 5 stars. Next up, I started reading The Inmate, and I did read this alongside my husband. I don't have when I started it, and I don't have when I finished it. The thing is, I could probably try to guess when I started it, each book, just based on maybe some photos that I might have in my phone, but I literally do not know. But you know what? I probably could watch my YouTube videos and figure it out, but I don't know. But it was obviously sometime in August, maybe I read both of those books. I rated it 3 stars. I don't know what my husband rated it, but I rated it 3 stars. I did actually like it a lot, but I didn't really like the ending. The ending definitely threw me for a loop, but it was just kind of weird. So I just had to rate it 3 stars. I know I say that Frida can do no wrong, but actually she can. Like I mentioned, our book club meeting was canceled. That was going to be on September the 28th. So moving into October, well, moving into the end of September, I went on a work trip with some of my financial social work colleagues. And when I got back, my husband had a gift waiting for me, which I thought was super nice. And that was Abby Jimenez's Just for the Summer. This is a 5-star read. I started reading it September the 29th. I stopped reading it October the 6th. The vibes were still summery here in Georgia during that time. So I was trying to rush through it before fall hit. I don't know. I just felt like it was appropriate to read just for the summer, during the summer. 5-star read. 5-star read. Easily a 5-star read. 5.5-star read probably. I loved every bit of this book. Loved it real bad. Another Good Morning America GMA book club pick, but I think this is what sparked my interest in Abby Jimenez and her catalog. So I'm actually going to start trying to work through it. I have only read this one book, but the book, elite. Let me tell you something that happened around the same time. On October the 5th, I was going on a road trip to meet up with one of my YouTube coworkers to do some filming together and all of that. And for whatever reason, I was like, let me see if I can go on my Libby app, which we'll talk about, and see if I can, to see if the book is available for me to borrow. The book was available for me to borrow. By book, I mean audiobook. The audiobook was available for me to borrow. So I was like, let me give this audiobook situation a go as I'm driving to and fro Charlotte. Up until that point, every character had my voice, if that makes any sense. But when I started reading or listening to this audiobook, that is when those characters actually had a voice. Now, sometimes the voices don't match up with the characters. The voices of the narrators just do not match up to what I might think that the characters' voices would be. But for Just for the Summer, I feel like that's when I was able to give those characters voices. And to me, that was amazing. And I'll be honest, that is what sparked my love for audiobooks. By the way, I think The Inmate and Before I Let Go were our first book club picks. We have been picking 2 books each month, and I think those were the first ones. Again, we ended up having to reschedule, and we weren't able to reschedule for 2 months. So the books, it kind of got convoluted, but I'm pretty sure The Inmate and Before I Let Go were both September book club picks. Speaking of book club picks, I started reading Casey Mills's Innocent Intent on October the 8th, and I finished on October the 16th. And I'll be honest, that is when my love for Casey Mills began, I fear. And I have been trying to work through her catalog slowly but surely as well, or I have plans to, but I rated that book 4 stars. On October the 19th, I actually went with my friends to an event called Southern Hearts in Columbia, South Carolina. It was basically like a big book fair for Black romance authors. I don't know that I saw a male author in that whole place, so kind of like Black female romance authors, but I actually ended up meeting Casey Mills at that event, and then she also actually joined our book club meeting virtually when we were actually discussing Innocent Intent. But I did actually end up meeting her, and I met some other authors as well. And I'll be honest, up until that point, I really hadn't purchased any physical books. Not in 2024, not ever. I just normally read books via Kindle. And so at Southern Hearts, obviously I purchased a few books because I was there and it made sense for me to do so. So I went ahead and purchased some books. Just saying, up until then, I was pretty much just reading ebooks. I think another one of our book club picks for October was This Could Be Us. I think Innocent Intent and This Could Be Us were the book club picks for October. And so I was reading Kennedy Ryan's This Could Be Us from October the 21st until October the 26th. I rated it 4 stars. I do really like the book, but I really struggle with if I like it more than the first one. According to my ratings, obviously I rated Before I Let Go higher than This Could Be Us, but I really did like This Could Be Us. But I don't know, I think I just liked Yasmin, is that her name? And Josiah's story a little bit better, especially with that mental health element that was included. On October the 25th, my friend and I took a little road trip to the Book Warehouse Outlet October sale, which was going to be in Easley, South Carolina. They have a Book Warehouse Outlet. And we actually purchased like 5 books there as well. I purchased 3 books, I think, and my friend drove us there, so I purchased her books. All of the books together were super cheap, like $5 a piece. So anyway, we discovered that it would appear that they have a big sale where books are up to 70% off each month. And I think it's always the last weekend of every month. This next book was a book club read for October, I think. No, I think it was for November. You guys, these are starting to run together, but I think it was for November. And I will have you know, this actually would go on to become my favorite book of 2024. And as it stands, my favorite book of all time. And that is Razor Blade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I listened to the audiobook strictly and I loved it. I will tell you that after I discovered audiobooks in October, that's when I discovered immersion reading or immersive reading, where you might be listening to an audiobook and reading an ebook and reading the physical book at the same time. It's just like a variation of the 3, I believe. Although I think for most people, if not, this might actually be the case. But I think from what I have gathered, it's really like an audiobook and then either an ebook or a physical book. So I was doing that from October on, but for Razor Blade Tears, I actually listened to the entire thing via audiobook, and that is because it is an elite experience. Like, you absolutely must listen to the audiobook. If you've ever read the physical book or the ebook, you actually need to go listen to the audiobook because it is an elite experience. I would actually rate the book like a 6. I very much plan to read it again in life. Up until Razor Blade Tears, I never thought about reading a book again, but I would absolutely read the book again. But I wouldn't just read it, I would listen to the audiobook again. I actually forgot a book, which is so funny because I always forget about this book because I didn't really like it and it was a waste of my time. But I keep forgetting about this book, which is crazy. From September the 16th until September the 28th, I was reading The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. And I rated it 3 stars. It was a cute read. It was a cozy read. It was a fall read. The TikTok girlies were hyping it up and I just had to give it a go. And it is a cozy fall read, but it is nothing more than that. And quite literally nothing less. Like, literally just a cozy fall read. After Razor Blade Tears, I then began reading The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, also by Laurie Gilmore. This is the 2nd book in the series. I know I was talking mess about Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and I always am, and I continue to do so, but the TikTok girlies also said that the series gets better. I am here for a second chance. I am a second chance girly through and through, not a second chance trope necessarily. I'm talking about like literal second chances. I give people second chances, why not? A lot of people are deserving of a second chance. Everybody who has committed an offense that is not immensely traumatic is deserving of a second chance. You cannot convince me otherwise. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore was slightly better than the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I still rated it a 3, but it was better than the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I just could not in good faith rate it higher than a 3. I started reading it on November the 13th. I finished reading it on November the 24th. On November the 16th, we had our first official book club meeting, which was at a restaurant. And like I said, Casey Mills was able to join to tell us all about her thought process when writing Innocent Intent, or just sharing with us information on how she navigates just being an author. And that was really fun. So we were able to discuss all of the books from September up until that point. So we were discussing a number of books, but that was our first official book club meeting. At that meeting, we decided on our 2 book club books for December, and the first one was going to be Casey Mills's Christmas in Spite of You. Everybody was ranting and raving about Innocent Intent, so we were like, let's continue reading some of Casey Mills's catalog. And so that's why we decided on Christmas in Spite of You. I rated it 4 stars. I'm gonna be honest, I do remember the book, like don't get me wrong, but at this point, I don't know, maybe because I read it in 2 days. I started December 1st and finished it December 2nd, that it didn't really stick with me. But I do remember loving the book, but I just feel like maybe I read it too fast. So that's something I should probably be mindful of, is reading really quickly, I guess. But yeah, I really don't remember much about it because I ran through that book. I don't know what the rush was, but that's how it panned out. This next book, don't laugh, from December the 2nd to December the 4th, I was reading Laurie Gilmore's Christmas Tree Farm. I know, that's the 3rd book in the series. I did like it a little bit more than the previous books, but I still rated it 3 stars. Next up, we have another book club pick for December. It would be the 2nd book club pick, and that was A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. Just like Razorblade Tears, this book would go on to be an elite experience and one of my favorite books to date. I rated it 5 stars. It's really 6 stars. Razorblade Tears is also really 6 stars. Just for the Summer is like slightly over 5 stars, not quite 6 stars, but maybe like a 5.3 star read, which really rounds to 5 stars. But I loved A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, and shout out to the book club girlies for recommending all of these books, because literally they have been great. On December the 14th, we had our 2nd book club meeting. That was at this little wine bar kind of place. It's in like a plaza, so you can walk and get food. So we went and got food. We love that so much that that's probably where all of them are going to be held, if not in someone's home. In December, I also joined another one of my friends' book clubs, except she is not local and she lives in a completely different state. So this is going to be a virtual book club. And our January pick is Keke Palmer's Master of Me. The gag is I already read it. So I was not expecting to start December the 9th and finish December the 11th, but it's an autobiography or memoir, I guess you could call it. Well, it's kind of like a self-help book, really. It's technically what it is. And if the author is narrating it, I feel like you have to listen to the audiobook, and I love Keke Palmer, so I had to listen to it, and so that's why I finished it so soon. I rated it 3 stars. Nothing against Keke, but when I am reading self-help-ish kinds of books and I feel like I haven't really been helped, then it's kind of like, I don't think that book was for me necessarily. I probably shouldn't have read it, but how are you gonna know what all is going to be included in a book just from reading like the back cover or what have you? So that was on me. Probably shouldn't have read it. Next up, I decided from December the 13th through December the 16th that I was gonna read Natasha Bishop's Only for the Week. I may or may not have met her at that event, but I do know that at some point throughout the year, my friend actually bought this book for me, maybe when she first met her, and it comes with a bookmark that perfectly matches the book, so that was fun, just having that. And I love this book. I rated it 4 stars, and I'm glad I read it. Loved it. I joined the virtual book club earlier in December, but we had our first ever meeting on December the 26th, just to kind of talk about what is to come and what is going to look like and all of that. So I did attend that virtually. From December 16th through December 21st, I was reading Kennedy Ryan's Queen Move. I've already read The Kingmaker and The Rebel King. That's what it's called. I had to look it up. I already read those, I think 2023 or something. So I was finally reading this and I rated it 4 stars. Again, hard for Kennedy Ryan to do wrong in my eyes, but she did kind of do wrong in this book because it was kind of giving infidelity. Like, if you ask me, it is giving infidelity, but I can see how some people would rationalize that. I don't really like that when books, I I'm not saying I have a bunch of morals and values necessarily, but when books are going up against my morals and values, it's a little weird for me. But, you know, it's just a book. It's all for fun and games or whatever. So I did not like that. And it almost dropped it another star, but I stuck with the 4 because it was a good book overall. My last book of the year is a January book club pick, and that book is called Single Black Female by Tracy Brown, and I love this book club pick. Also, that went on to be one of my favorite books of 2024. Maybe not of all time, but definitely of 2024. I rated it 5 stars. I loved every single minute of it. My goal for 2024 was to read 18 books, which is 1.5 book per month. And I ended up reading 27 books. I am not anticipating trying to read 30 books in 2025. I'm actually going to shoot for 2 books per month, especially since I have discovered audiobooks, and I fear that some of the books are just going to have to be listened to. Like when they say you should listen to the audiobook, then I'm gonna do that. That's what they said for Razorblade Tears, and I did just that, and I understood why that was the case. Given my newfound love for audiobooks, I am going to attempt to read 24 books in 2025. I could very well exceed that amount, but I'm just gonna stick to 2 books per month. Okay, so let's talk about some bookish apps that I tried in 2025. First of all, Amazon Music, which I pay for each month as opposed to Apple Music or Spotify or whatever. I just use Apple Music because of the Alexa devices, which by the way, every time I spell out that name, people are like, in the comments, they're like, why did you do that? And I'm like, so your device wouldn't be set off and nor would mine. Like, duh, that's why I spell out her name. But because I have a number of those devices, I just use Amazon Music. And in October, I think Amazon Music partnered, I guess, with Audible, or knowing Jeff, he probably acquired Audible. At any rate, they are giving out 1 free credit for Audible, which means you can listen to 1 audiobook each month, included with the price that you're already paying for Amazon Music. So we currently pay $9.99 each month for Amazon Music, and now we get 1 free audiobook per month, which is amazing. Because of which I did try Audible, and I also tried a free trial of Audible, and I didn't mind Audible. However, I discovered Everand. Everand is like $16.95, I think, and you get 3 books, 3 audiobooks. There are other books on there, but I feel like if you want the bang for your buck, you should just listen to 3 audiobooks if you like audiobooks. But you get 3 of them for like $16.95, I believe. So that to me is a no-brainer. I'm still using a free trial, but if I do want to lock in with audiobooks, I will probably be paying for Everand. I also tried audiobooks.com. I tried a free trial of that. It was fine. It's just that I'm not going to pay Audible or audiobooks.com what I can pay Everand for more books. So if you're looking for the best bang for your buck when it comes to audiobooks, I think Everand is your girl. In 2024, I obviously was using the Kindle app. That's a no-brainer. And I was really heavily using the Libby app. If you have a library card, you could enter in your library card and library information via Libby, and then you can read and or listen to free books, just like if you were going to your actual library, and it works the exact same. So our libraries aren't going to have the same types of books. So that's one of the issues with Libby. Your library just has to have the book. And if somebody else is borrowing that book, then you're gonna have to wait and be on the wait list. And it works just like if you were to go into an actual library. Hoopla is another app that I am trying to figure out. It's very similar to Libby. It's just that I cannot find my library via Hoopla. So I'm trying to like figure out what is happening and how I can rectify that situation, because I want to be able to access free books via Hoopla as well. In the meantime, I am paying for Kindle Unlimited, and I pay for that each and every month. I normally can catch a deal or a promo, and I might be paying like 99 cents per month. but the last several months I have not found a promo, so I'm paying the full price for Kindle Unlimited, which is like $11.99, I think. For audiobooks, honestly, I pretty much listen to them in my car, or I'll tell my Alexa devices to play the audiobook, depending on if I can access it through the devices. Otherwise, I just put in headphones. I do have some Soundcore noise canceling headphones. They're not the greatest, like in comparison to some of the other types of noise canceling headphones out there, but I will use those if I'm cleaning or something and I just want to hear over the vacuum cleaner or over the running water a little bit better than if I were to use my earbuds or AirPods. I have, of course, been using my iPad mini for reading, and I do have the Kindle widget on my home screen. So whatever book I'm reading via Kindle, I can just press it and it'll take me to the last page. I am, sooner rather than later, going to start working on making my way through Abby Jimenez's catalog, starting with Part of Your World, moving on to Yours Truly, and then so on and so forth. But this is my holy grail. I recently got this pop socket from Amazon, and so when I'm reading, I'm just like this. I also have another case, which is a clear case, and I have another strap for reading, which is like such. So let me just show you what that looks like. If I could influence you to purchase anything, it's gonna be an iPad, and it's probably gonna be an iPad mini if you're a reader, but otherwise, I'm gonna say an iPad Pro. But anyway, I have this one. I like this one because I like to see my back and appreciate it every now and again. Oh, I forgot. In October, I think, I went to this crafter house, and you can do anything while you're there. You can work on any craft, but I started trying to work on a book tracker. So my goal was to basically do a review of my books in here, but I'm realizing that I don't think I'm really into that via paper, which is tragic that I did this because this would have been a perfect junk journal, but I can try to dismantle it maybe. But anyway, I did have this reading journal that I worked on while I was there. And yeah, my goal is to put in all of my books, and behind, like, I think this is for May, July. I think that's what I was doing here. But yeah, I never got around to it, but I did make this in 2024. But I think if I'm gonna do a reading journal, it's gonna be digitally. Let me show you my favorite bookmarks. So I made a bookmark myself, which is this bookmark. It's cute. My charm actually fell off, which is tragic, but this is how it works. And isn't it cute? I love it. Speaking of other little things that I have acquired 2 of these, and they're like a resin page holder. So you just put your thumb in there, and then you can hold your book open like such. So I use these occasionally, but I feel like they're, you know, whatever. Like I said, I do have 2 of them. My friend, I think, went to Vegas and brought me back this bookmark, so that's fun. I have a few other random bookmarks that I have acquired. I have a number of these. These are reading lists, which are kind of cool, because if I wanted to actually use these, I could use the front and the back, first of all, but I could put the name of the books and then I guess the date when I finished them, and then rate each book. But I use Notion for all of that, so that's pointless. This bookmark I thought was really cute. Got that in 2024. This is a bookmark as well, and it's one of the ones, it's like a corner bookmark. So I don't know how it would look like necessarily, but I think this is what it would look like. I made this Book Babe bracelet, which I should be wearing now because I feel like that's cute. So I'll wear that sometimes to my events, my little events, if I can remember. I acquired a lot of stickers. I gave away a lot, but I also still have a bunch of stickers. Well, the reason why I'm showing you those is because I'm supposed to like put them inside of here, but I quite literally have never gotten around to it. Like this one says, I love books. So I'm supposed to like do this and then put my iPad in there. I mean, I might do it, but I don't know. I don't really I don't know, I don't really do it because I mainly use this case. I have these book trackers, 2 of them. I told you the book club that I'm a part of, the crafting club, is called Shelf Indulgence. And so basically it's just like a big book tracker, so I could be tracking my books. I got this pouch that I may or may not have won. It says my weekend is all booked. And then I have this charm that says emotionally attached to fictional characters that I decided to put on here. And then this one says book club, which is appropriate because, no, book babe, sorry, book babe. And then my last 2 items, I went to Southern Hearts and Signed Kisses, I guess is what it's called. So I got a bag from there, which I will carry when I'm going to like book club or whatever. And then I also got this little bag. I don't know where I got this from. Merle Gray Book Club. I don't know where I got it from, but I did get this pen from somewhere. Oh, from Hildy. She's an author. And it says, Books, Men, and Tea. I like them all steamy. And so I put that on there. Otherwise, I did recently get these bookshelves. I'm working on a book, like cozying up this space, which would make it more of a vibe when it comes to reading. And then as you can see, I do have some books here. These are just like random books that I have acquired over the year, really, just either from D-Stash or my friend buying me a book when she's at these different book events. Or of course, I bought some at Southern Hearts. I bought 3 at Southern Hearts, I think. I bought 3 at the Book Warehouse, and then the rest of them have just been gifted to me. So I haven't spent a whole bunch of money on this hobby, so that's one positive. The positive is this is actually a free hobby. If I choose to, you know, make it that way, I can very much continue to pay for Kindle Unlimited and buy books here or there. But at its core, if I'm just borrowing books from the library or through Libby and Hoopla, then it really is a free hobby. So anyway, that's my 2024 reading wrapped. I think I discussed everything. As I mentioned, I track all of my books in Notion. So that's the only other thing that I probably didn't mention. But I've shown that many a time before on my channel. But yeah, that's my 2024 reading wrapped. Let me know your thoughts. This is my first book video. I don't know if I'll be back to make another one, but I had fun filming this video and it took a long time. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give this video a like. Subscribe if you're new and if you're liking what you're seeing. And I will catch you guys right back here in a few days in a brand new video. Bye guys.